Welcome back to Joe Stunner Boxing. Frank Warren was interviewed by, I think it was Parsons, A Stomping Ground. Is that the name of the channel? I watch so many different channels. I lose track of who's in charge of what and who's interviewed when and all this stuff. But I think it was Parsons interviewing him. And Parsons said, okay, you've gone over to DAZN now and you start in April. Now that you're, best buds with Eddie, don't forget we've got, Frank, we've got Valentine's Day coming up soon, you and Eddie, just saying. Sky might get jealous, but sorry. Anyway, Parsons said, you and Eddie, you're best mates now. Now that you're both on DAZN, is it friendship or is it competition? And Frank gave a little smile, which I think spoke volumes, and said, competition. Competition. It's always been about competition, is what he said. And this is good to hear. Why is it good to hear? Because if you're like me and you had a sort of a major concern about too much power being concentrated in one place, this is what you want to hear. You want to hear promoters working together to create great fights, because there's no point in being competitors if you don't, come together and clash. I don't like the idea. There's a difference between having competitive promoters, but all having your own individual plot in the garden and not crossing over. It's kind of like if you've got fighters, one's an IBF champ, one's a WBC champ, and so on, and they never fight each other. Well, how do you know who's best? So you want the promoters to come together. That's what was so brilliant about the 5 versus 5, of which there may be another one in May, which would be fantastic, between Matchroom and Queensberry. Queensberry have a bone to pick with Matchroom have a bone to pick with Queensberry because they got whitewashed 10-0, 5-0, 5-0 in fights, 10-0 in points. And also Eddie has talked about Matchroom versus Golden Boy, which again, great stuff. That's what you want. That's competition. That's real competition. But what you don't want is a sort of cartel system. Now, if you're old like me, you'll remember the cartel system of Duff, Astaire, Harry Levine, Terry Lawless was involved, all that lot. No, it's bad. It's bad for boxing. It's essentially a cartel system. It's one step away from being a monopoly, and that's always a bad. Monopolies are always a bad thing if you believe in a capitalistic model, which obviously this lot do. So Frank saying, no, this is competition. It's always been about competition. I thought was really, really good to hear. And again, I've said this in previous videos. Let's not forget that when Eddie went to DAZN, he was the main man. Even though De La Hoya and Golden Boy came on, they weren't really a threat to Eddie. And Eddie was, before he'd even left Sky, he was working with DAZN for about a year. And then he left Sky, he went to DAZN with, pretensions of taking over the world, he went to America, and it was, remember, it's open season, come and join me, I'm going to sign up all these fighters. And then he discovered it wasn't quite that easy, because of course they close the door on you and they don't like outsiders, and, Top Rank and Arum and all, strangely enough, they've come over to DAZN as well. But, and at this point, Frank and Queensberry were still rebuilding. They were sort of out in the wilderness a little bit. But now it's very different. Now, I would argue that Frank has overtaken Eddie certainly domestically. He completely dominates. Eddie, like I did a video previously about Eddie Hearn and Matchroom, forgetting about their base, their grassroots, their bread and butter, which is the UK scene, and they forgot about that, which should be your foundation, where you come from, your home country, and build on that. They forgot about that. And Eddie wanted to take over the world, and I've done the UK scene, what the hell? And then Frank steps in, takes over. Turkey Al Sheikh comes in with all his money, and suddenly Frank is left TNT, and Queensberry are with DAZN. Now suddenly Eddie is under serious pressure. It is not the death knell for Matchroom, as some people have suggested. Oh, Eddie Hearn's finished. No, he's not. Ridiculous. A man of that skill, whatever you think of Eddie Hearn, whatever you think of Frank Warren, these are great promoters. They're very, very good promoters. And they're good businessmen. They understand, economics and all this stuff, the economics of, checks and balances and so on, the necessity for this, of how to negotiate best deals for your fighters and so on, how to bring a fighter on, essentially, which is what Frank Warren does so well. So whatever you think of them as people, they're good. They're good businessmen, and Eddie Hearn, if he wants to, can regain the momentum. You don't know. There's nothing wrong with Matchroom. Matchroom is still a major power player in world boxing. And Eddie is still one of the best promoters in the world. No question about it. But he's had his nose put out of joint by Warren. And I think that I did say in one of my previous videos, 2025, it's going to get better for Warren. And Hearn is going to be under more pressure. And I think if I was Eddie Hearn now, I would be thinking, okay, we need to do some serious work here. I need to start signing up, the next generation of fighters, because this is going to be like a sort of 5-year project. The shift has to be away from being the top dog at DAZN, which he's one of the top dogs, but he's now got to share the banquet table with other people, Warren, Top Rank, and Bob Arum, all the others. It's not the Eddie Hearn show anymore, So if I was him, I'd be thinking, okay, over the next 3 to 5 years, I've got to do some serious rebuilding here. I'd be looking to sign up lots of new fighters, especially the bigger weights, the heavyweights. I mean, he's got sort of, fingers in other pies, like, he sort of co-promotes Jaya Pataya and, but, the heavyweights, who's he got at heavyweight? Johnny Fisher. Oh, man. Terramona, Australian heavyweight. So good they named him twice. He was on the undercard of the Opataya Anyika fight, and I think he's 6-0 with 6 KOs. Okay, I don't know what the promotional situation is, whether Hearn's got a slice of him, but Hearn needs to be rebuilding, from the big heavyweights, because Joshua's not going to be around for much longer. That's always been his, calling card, his major. His major cash cow. He's, if anything, and he won't like admitting this, but he's got to take a leaf out of Frank Warren's book, out of Queensberry's book, and look at how they've risen back to absolute prominence in the last 10 years. So I think this is good that Warren is almost firing shots across Eddie's bow. Yeah, we can be friendly, we can do business, no problem, no problem at all, but this is competition. And probably Eddie feels the same way anyway. But as we've said before, Frank is Turkey Al-Sheikh's man. He's the one that, when Frank said this is a game changer, when he talked about Ngannou and Fury, myself included, we were like, what the hell are you talking about? Fury versus Ngannou. We missed the point. The point was the relationship that was developing between the Saudis via Turkey Al-Sheikh and Frank Warren and Queensberry. Yes, it was a game changer, as we've seen in the last year and a half. But now Eddie needs to find some sort of angle where he needs to rebuild. Probably we're back to the old cliche of speculating to accumulate and all that sort of stuff. Maybe get the checkbook out, rebuild, and absolutely rival. Become he already is a rival to Frank Warren, but to regain any kind of lost ground, it won't happen within 2025. It's going to be a longer process. He can make strides in 2025, no problem. But I think it's good. I think we need competition, and we need that cross-pollination of promoters working together. That has been obviously the greatest thing about the whole Riyadh thing. Turkey's money, Turkey gets them together, bangs the heads together, come on, let's do it. And that 5 versus 5 last year was fantastic. And hopefully the next one will be, it's in May, hopefully, we hope. Can you imagine Frank, it was actually the same interview. They asked him about the 5 versus 5. I think Parsons asked him, and he said, what weights are you going to pick? And he went, well, obviously heavyweight. I mean, who the hell has Eddie got? He had to rope in Deontay Wilder last time because he got no heavyweights. What's he going to do? Put Johnny Fisher in with Moses Atama? I mean, come on, man. Don't be surprised if Frank's Queensberry smash up Eddie's Matchroom again in May, but we'll see. We'll see. Anyway, what are your thoughts? I think this is very interesting for this advent of Frank going to Queensberry. Queensberry going to DAZN, I think, is really, really good, really positive. But we will see. We will see what's going to happen. Leave your comments below. I always look forward to reading them. And thank you, as always, for your time. Please subscribe to the channel if you're new. It takes a second, costs you nothing. You'll be helping us out a great deal. Many, many thanks for all your time and your support. And like the video as well, because they count them. It's all down to algorithms, whatever that is. So I'm told. I don't fucking know. Do I look like I know about these things? No. Catch you later. Bye for now.